Are you looking to build the perfect 1440p and 4K gaming PC that you can assemble right now? If so, I've got just the build for you. Featuring a 40 series GPU, brand new NZXT H9 PC case, and loads of other amazing components that will deliver top tier performance and look great in the process. Let's do this. For those that are new to the channel, this video will be split into 3 core sections, as with basically all of our build guides. First, I'll be walking you through the parts I picked and why. Second, I'll be showing you guys how to build this system. And third, finish things off by looking at performance. Hopefully, you're suitably impressed and choose to subscribe for more videos here on the GeekaWhat channel. In terms of parts though, let's start with the case to mix things up a little bit. This is the NZXT H9, and it looks like, well, the Lee & 011D, basically, which is pretty much what it is. Can't really sugarcoat this. It's a good case though. Design-wise, very nice. It does some things better than the 011D. In fact, it's probably a good iterative improvement. It's easier to build in. The airflow is just as good, if not better, with more mounts for more parts. And the dual 2-chamber design, much like other cases that have come before it, the Hype Y60 comes to mind, helps greatly with airflow and cable management. You can shove all the pesky cables at the rear, never to worry about them again. I'll be installing into it an Intel Core i7-13700K. This is one of my favourite Intel 13th gen chips, and easily the most underrated. The i5 is a go-to for gaming, while the i9 is the option for those who've got money to burn. The i7 provides an amazing middle ground. Plus, with 16 cores and 24 threads, it's 8P cores and 8E cores, it's a very powerful chip, and frankly destroys any of the Ryzen alternatives. I'll be installing it into the ASUS ROG STRIX Z790A Gaming Wi-Fi D4, a board that thankfully performs better than its naming scheme might suggest. Why is it so long, ASUS? Why? It's got Wi-Fi, great. DDR4 memory support, cheaper than DDR5, though not so much of an issue nowadays, and the white and black colour scheme will help to tie the whole build together. Connectivity is very strong, and we rated it highly in our review over on GeekaWhat.com, which I'll pop in the cards section now. RAM is going to be provided by a 32GB kit of Corsair Veangence RGB Pro. Look at it, it's so beautiful. They do DDR4 and DDR5 variants. DDR4 for this build, but if your board is DDR5, then that's the one that you'll want. Storage, SSD-wise, I've opted for something a little bit different. So different, it's not on the table. Here it is, with WD Black's SN850 providing the goods. This one's 1TB, but if you've got more money to spend, 2TB isn't a bad choice either. With read and write speeds up to 7 gig a second, it's a very solid drive. Highly recommend it for a build like this. Graphics-wise, I've picked up the ASUS ROG STRIX 4070 Ti. Sadly, I couldn't get any white 40 series GPU. Insert sad noises here, thank you, editor. But this is about as good as we're going to get as an alternative option. The Strix card is massive, as you will all see later, but I won't ruin the video too much. Finally, a couple of other things to note. Cooling, KRAKEN Z73, 360mm, and it's in white from NZXT, making it an awesome choice. It even has a screen on, for those of you who like coolers with a screen. Let's hear it for the coolers with a screen, baby! And power is also going to be provided... Oh, I lost the plot. Power is also going to be provided by NZXT's C1000 Gold. If I'm a bit ropey in this video, just come back from my holidays. I'm getting back into the swing of building a PC. I walked into work this morning and went, wow! It's a PC case. Forgot what one of those looked like. Anyway, I'm being boring now. Let's build a PC, shall we? And start things off by installing the motherboard, CPU, RAM, and SSD. Yeah! I styled that one out nicely, Dan. What do you think?
Very smooth.
Very smooth. Smooth, exactly. You might have seen people say before to use the motherboard box as like a bit of a workstation, and I concur with that advice. Just don't put it back on any anti-static bags. Keep it straight onto the cardboard, as you're gonna have more mileage. ASUS, ASUS, ASUS. The name on this board is terrible, but the design, oh, it looks so good. I like it.
Like it, Picasso.
CPU's first, so you're gonna pop that in. There's some really cool little design accent pieces here, referencing to like retro games and stuff. Just so good. I think ASUS killed it with their Z790 motherboards, and I'd go out on a whim to say I think their Z790 designs are actually some of my favourite, like full stop, on the market. RAM is going to go in next, so we've got 32 gigs, we're going to fill all 4 slots. Of course, if you wanted to future-proof a bit, don't go for 4 sticks, go for 2, 16 gigs each, as that's going to give you a bit more mileage later down the line. 1 DIMM, 2 DIMMs, 3 dims and 4 dims, the fourth and final dim. Gonna pop that in nice and easily, and that whole thing's looking pretty good. SSD is next. That's gonna sit under this top slot, which needs removing with a teeny tiny screwdriver before pretty much wrapping up the motherboard assembly. There is one more thing I am gonna do now, and that's add on some of the mounting hardware for our NZXT cooler, just the backplate and these 4 posts. Prepping it now is a lot easier than trying to get your hands in the case and do it later. The next stage of proceedings then is to just take the side panels off the case and go ahead and move the motherboard into place. As I alluded to earlier, it's actually kind of easy to install the motherboard into this case just because of the size of the H9. NZXT's H9 is not a cheap chassis, but it is very, very good from like a builder experience point of view. I think it's better than the Lee & O11D, maybe not quite the Height Y60 on the buildability front. So motherboard's in, I/O also looks super sleek at the back with all the white and just screws in with the 8 remaining holes. 3 at the top, 3 down the bottom, and then 1 on the left and 1 on the right in the middle. The center standoff is a post, so no screw needed there. With the cooler prep already done, all that's left to actually do now is install the radiator. I'm going to add it into the top of the case in an exhaust config. We've already got these intake NZXT duo fans on the left. That'll help keep the pressure nice and, I was going to say positive, but pretty neutral actually. So cooler's going to go at the top, fans on the underside to pull the air out the case, while the block then easily fastens onto the 4 posts I just popped in a few moments ago. Nice and simple. Power is next then. I think I touched on this earlier. Did I touch on this earlier? I don't think I did. NZXT C1000 Gold, 80 plus gold certified, super powerful, super efficient, a little bit overkill for the 4070 Ti. However, 40 series graphics cards can be quite power hungry beasts. So a unit like this isn't necessarily the worst decision you'll make. They also do an 851, which would be totally good as well. And I'll link all the options at the affiliate links down in the description below. Power though for this build, C1000 Gold with a few cable extensions from Easy DIY Fab to finish the whole thing off nicely. So then graphics card is all we have really left to do. I've picked up this NZXT's latest PCIe Gen 4 PCIe riser cable. Now, I've gone ahead and done a little bit of prep and removed the rear PCI lanes already. So all that actually needs to happen here is that the cable's going to go in like so. It's a bit fiddly, but bear with me. Yeah, there we are. And then this doodad just pops over where the PCI lanes historically would have been. So that's going to screw in nice and easily and provide us a bit of a base, if you will, from which to install the graphics card. And then it's finally time. I'm feeling ready for the graphics card. Now, this is the GeForce 4070 Ti. Oh yeah, baby. I don't even know what that accent was. This card has been a bit controversial, hasn't it, really? But actually, our friends over at AMD have done what our friends over at AMD sort of end up always doing, and making a great graphics card that's not actually in stock and not available anywhere, whereas the 4070 Ti is. And where the 7900 equivalent cards are available, they're very expensive, making the 4070 Ti actually a much more viable option than any of us predicted at the launch. A bit of a hover over, and you can see, boom, it does indeed fit. It obviously does distort the colour scheme slightly, but I think this thing, once we've synced up the lighting in the case and the fans with the front of the graphics card, could look awesome. So bear with me 2 moments, let me whack this into place and rejoin you for a look at the finished build. Whoa. Oh, it did snap the PCIe riser cable. Broken. And there we have it. Finally time to see how this thing performs, but first, how good it looks. It's all powered up in an epic montage. I'll see you in a few. Taking a look at performance then, and it's no surprise to see that the rather expensive 4070 Ti and the other components in this build stack up pretty well in the latest titles. Take Call of Duty's Warzone 2.0 for example at 1440p high settings, with DLSS enabled specifically set to the quality mode. The build managed to achieve an impressive 135 frames per second, a frame rate that could surely be pushed 20 or 30 frames higher with slightly more aggressive DLSS settings. Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 2 1440p was a similar story. High settings once again with DLSS enabled and set to quality yielded 155 FPS. A frame rate figure that would likely jump another 20 if we once again increase the aggressiveness of the DLSS technology. Fortnite at 1080p competitive also stacked up well, 301 frames per second in Epic Games' still incredibly popular title, providing true esports level performance. Apex Legends is another one of those first person shooter battle royales that stacks up well, and this time time, when testing at 1440p high, we managed to achieve 172 FPS on average. The good results carried on rolling through too in games like Overwatch 2, where at 4K Ultra, the build pulled in an impressive 226 FPS on average, with impressive 90 and 99th percentile frame rates, and titles also like Battlefield 2042, which yielded nearly 140 frames per second at 1440p high settings. This is a build then that really means business for those of you looking to game at 1440p with those settings cranked to the max and those frame rates nice and high. If you want to buy any of the parts mentioned today, they will be linked at the affiliate links below. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.